So in this section, we are going to continue from where we stop in imputing the inventory item we were doing, right? So we were able to enter one inventory item actually, right? To go back to our list, go to inventory item list. Now this is the only item we were able to add yesterday, and for assignment, I say you should add at least 5 inventory items you know, or using this scenario, add 5 inventory items on your own end, right? So when you add those 5 inventory items, you first of all calculate. You have to decide, actually you have to decide whether it is going to, your price is going to be VAT inclusive or VAT exclusive, because that will determine how QuickBooks is going to be effectively used in tracking your tax. Now I personally said, from the beginning of this section, I personally told us that what we are doing here is we're trying to make sure that we comply with the Tax Management Act that is now in effect, especially if you're a Nigerian. Now, in doing it this way, it becomes easier to manage your taxes in QuickBooks. So that is why I always advise, if you're putting any price in QuickBooks, it should be VAT exclusive, right? It is my advice and my recommendation that your price should always be VAT exclusive, right? That is sales tax exclusive, so that when you apply the rate on the selling price you have imputed, it will automatically give you that. And in tracking your revenue only carry the net revenue exclusive of your VAT, right? So in this section, we are going to add a couple of inventory items, and I'm going to add this item here. I'm going to add this item here. In your own case, you have to type. I will copy. So I will type, then come to my item here. Then I will click on new. When I click on new, I'll select inventory pad item. I've already told us the reason why I'm using inventory pad item, because these are items I resell, right? So I'll paste the name here. Also paste here. Then if it is a sub item, I will just go ahead and put it under a sub item. But since it's not, I will leave it like that. Now, under normal circumstances, what I should have as my account, the cost of goods sold account here, I'm supposed to have account that track this item separately, but I chose not to. I am going with this, though this Primer Food is a different brand, a different product on its own, but I'm using it for this item. So I'll just go ahead and click here, right? When I do that, the cost is I think 12,000. Is that? Let me check, let me confirm. Okay, the cost is 14,700. The cost is 14,700. So it's 14,700 that I'm going to put here as the cost. Now the selling price, right? The selling price, which is this, what am I going to put as the selling price? Now the selling price VAT inclusive is 14. How come it's not possible? Our selling price cannot be lower than our cost price. So let's say this is 15,500. Let's make this 15,500. Remember that this is just for training purposes. If you're entering your product, you have to enter the real product, the cost price and the selling price that you have there. Now this is the selling price we are assuming, and this selling price we say is VAT inclusive. Just as I told us that if I'm going to do this, that means I'm not going to apply this VAT rate. If I'm going to go with 15,500 here, that means I'm not going to apply this VAT rate. I have to leave it at none, right? Or VAT exempt, or anything that does not apply VAT on it. That's how I'm going to leave it, right? But in this case, I don't want to bother myself, because if I am not applying the VAT rate here, that means at the long run, it's going to be another work for me, because I will have to determine what is my revenue and what is my VAT on that item. So I don't want that. I want QuickBooks to be able to do that for me. So instead, I always go with VAT exclusive. So I have already done the calculations. So this is the VAT exclusive rate. So I'll just copy this. Now, because this has a formula in it, I will just paste it somewhere. I'll paste it somewhere, then I'll copy. Okay, I'll copy. copy it, and then we'll go back and then paste it here. And of course it has to be only 5 decimal places, otherwise it's not going to work. So I will have to check. So when you are doing this, you will have to make sure you know what you are doing. 5 decimal places, this is 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so every other thing after this place is going to be deleted, right? So this is it. You can see that QuickBooks has accepted that. All right, I've accepted that. So right, and the next thing is, this is always going to be there, except I don't want to apply this VAT code, right? I can change it, but the VAT code by default, we have set it will always be here. Now here I will check the account. I will have to select the account that will track the revenue from this item. Remember, we are using the cost of sales account on the Prima Food, so the revenue account also will be revenue from Prima Food products. All right, that's what we will do here. Now when you do that, do we have any quantity at hand? If we have any quantity at hand, we can put it here, right here. Then it will now calculate. Let's say we have 12 at hand right now. You can see it has calculated the cost, right? And let's say our reorder point or minimum reorder quantity is going to be, let's say when this item gets to, let's say 10, right, we should be able to get a notification, or QuickBooks should be able to remind us that we are almost out of stock. Then when we are ordering, how many do we order at a time? Our maximum order, we can say our maximum order is let's say 50, right? Our maximum order, let's say, is 50. So whenever we are ordering anything that is above this, maybe due to our warehouse capacity, that is why we are ordering 50 at time at most. Now let's say when it gets to this amount, when we want to order above this, people have to tell us we have ordered above what we have, and this is going to be a great way to manage our space. Now we also have this quantity at hand, like I told us. So quantity at hand, it means you have it available, right? For now, all right, for training purposes, let me leave it. Let me make this 20. Let me make this 20. Now when I make this 20, it will calculate the value of this item. But another thing I want us to understand, that if I do this here, that means it's going to add up to our opening equity account. And that amount we have not yet calculated. We have not yet imputed amount for inventory. So we can as well leave it. But because this is a new startup, or this is a startup, I can decide I will have to just leave it at 0, right? I'll have to just leave it at 0, right? I'll tell us why that, because if I do that, because it's a startup, it will assume that this company already has product available and we don't, right? So it's a startup, there is no product available, we are just doing setup. So later on we'll start imputing the we'll start raising orders and receiving orders from our vendors, right? So that is it on this part. So when you are done, remember the most important thing here is that this is the most important thing here and here, right? Because if you say you want to, if you don't do this way, if you don't put the VAT exclusive amount here, it's going to be difficult for QuickBooks to track these items for you separately. And the idea of using software to do your accounting has been actually defeated, because at the end of the day you still be doing every calculation manually by yourself, and that is not wise. That is not the reason why we are using this application. So in this case, what we do here is put the exclusive value of your item, that's the selling price, should exclude VAT. Now QuickBooks Online may give you the option to add a couple of VAT items that you can. Anyway, I'm also looking for ways to do that, but we are going to get there. I'm still looking for ways to do that. I will also show once I find that when you just put, all you need to do is just to put this thing, the amount you are selling, then QuickBooks automatically calculate the VAT minus it from your original selling price. It will still give you the same thing. So that is what we're going to do in the next section. If I find out that it will work, then I will show us, and that's the most important reason why you have to follow this platform bumper to bumper, right? So let's go ahead. Like I said, the most important thing is this place, right? Make sure that your value is VAT exclusive, so that you'll be able to track your inventory, so that you'll be able to track your VAT or your sales tax liabilities. Right, when you're done, you can go ahead and click next, or you can go ahead and click OK. Now, what is the difference? If you click next, you will still remain on this window, but if you click OK, it will close completely. So let's go ahead and click next. Clicking next means we want to add another item, so click next again. Right, you may see this correction change spell check form where it's telling you that your spelling is wrong, whatever. So if your spelling is actually wrong, you can say replace or replace all. But I know what I type and I know it's correct. I'll just go ahead and click ignore all. Right, that has been saved, and we are still on that place. We are still on this form. Now, what happened is that I don't need to do any setup again. The accounts has been selected. Every account has been selected. All I need to do to get the item I want to enter, let's say I want to enter this item. Right, I want to enter this item. I am copying and pasting because I have it here. Yours, you have to type. Right, so you have to type. I'll paste it here in the description as well. Now, what is the cost of this item? Is 12.5. So here is 12.5 the cost. Right, so the cost is 12.5. Then what is the selling price? The selling price is 13,000. This is VAT inclusive. So the VAT exclusive rate is going to be this. So this is it. I will copy it. Copy, then come somewhere and then paste it. Right, so I'll paste it this way. Now this is what we have, so I will just copy this. Okay, copy this, then come back to this place, my selling price. Then I will have to paste it here, make this to be okay. All right, so this should be 6 in 6 decimal places. So this will be 6. Right, when that is done, I will just click on save. Right, so I will click on save and OK, because that is the only items I have to enter. So this is it. We have added a couple of items again. Yours will be a little bit bigger or much more than this, right? Because I asked you to add at least 5 or 10 items you think you know. That will also help you to understand what we are doing here better. So when you do that, now we have this. The list of all your inventory items will be down here, will be displayed here. So we have successfully created an inventory item. We have entered some inventory item, and in the next section we are going to look at how to actually start using the form, because everything we have been doing so far is at the back end of what we are doing. It's at the back end. We are doing setup. So everything we are to be seeing from here now is it's not going to be much. You just click here, click there, and you will get the result you are looking for. Now, okay, let's just continue from here. Now, I have said it. What we are doing is setting up the system so that the system can understand whenever we call up an action, right? We have set up the system from the creation of the company to setting up the VAT and to setting up the inventory item and to setting up, right, the tax item, which is now the VAT, right? So next we are going to look at how to raise purchase order. Now, it is not mandatory to raise purchase order, but in case you have to raise a purchase order. And what is that purchase order? Purchase order is just a simple document that says, I need this from my supplier. Do you have it? If the supplier says yes, I have it, then the supplier will supply according to the purchase order. Now, when you are receiving in QuickBooks, you have to confirm with what you have raising, what you raise as purchase order and what was supplied as inventory to you as a dealer or as a distributor. Now look at it. To raise a purchase order, from your dashboard here you can see it, purchase orders, right? Now if you don't want to use this place, another place you can find purchase order is on your vendors. So when you come to your vendors, you can see create purchase orders. So you can go ahead and click on create purchase order from here or from here. But like I always say, what is the essence of going through this place when I can just see it where I am, and I'll just click on it and it will give me the same thing that will have taken me to the vendors here, right? You can see that even the purchase order is under the vendor. Now when you open your purchase order, this is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to see. I like to make it I like doing it this way so that it will be more defined and more focused, right? So when you open your purchase order, this is what you're going to see. Now, every order, every form in QuickBooks, yeah, we call these forms in QuickBooks. Every forms in QuickBooks has this window, has this look, has this format, has this sort, has this report. So you can do a lot of things, but our focus right now is here. Now, the first question you're going to answer is, who is the vendor you are raising the purchase order for? Now, it is also important to note that, like I said, purchase order is not mandatory. Let's say, for instance, you went to the market and to do maybe market survey, and all of a sudden you see some products that you like, and you actually is part of your business model. Now, you paid for those products and you purchased them. It is not necessary anymore for you to enter the vendor's name in your system, because you have paid the vendor automatically, right? Now, in purchase order, you cannot raise a purchase order if you don't know the vendor you are raising the purchase order to. So that is why it is important, if you are raising a purchase order, you should be able to know the name of the vendor that you are raising the purchase order for. Now, we already have Prima Food Limited, right? This is one of our vendors, and we have Nigerian Revenue Service, is formerly Federal Inland Revenue Service. Right now, Prima Food is what we are going to use as our vendor. Want to raise order, right? So I'll just click on Prima Food. Remember that Prima Food is just for trading purposes, right? So Prima Food, we're using Prima Food Limited as our vendor. Now let's go ahead and say, okay. Now, when you select Prima Food Limited, the next question you're going to ask yourself is, when are you raising the purchase order? That is the date. Very important in every accounting transaction. You have to know the date. So the date of today, we are using the date of today. Let's say today is 18th of January 2026, right? So that's what we're using. Every other thing here will come by default. The address, you know that the address is not a real address, so don't go there. This is for just for training purposes. We have imputed the address there, not for, just for training purposes. Now, when you feel that, then you have your PO, that's your purchase order number. Now, I always like customizing my purchase order, because I don't want the purchase order number to be running perpetually. And due to the fact that the month, I do it according to month. Since we're in January, right? Since you're in January, I'll say PO, Jan, then dash, maybe 001, so that this number ends when the month ends. That's what I mean. So that this number ends when the month ends. That's another way to be more this thing. Whenever you see Jan, you know, okay, this purchase order was created in January and is purchase number 1. That is what it means, right? So then we come to your item here. And when you come to your item, you click the drop down. When you click on the drop down, if the item is not in your system, you can go ahead and add the item from here. But if the item is already in your system, just as we have it here, you can just select any of the items. Let's say, for instance, we are adding all the 3 items. We are adding all the 3 items we have. So I will just go ahead and do that. So we have added all the 3 items that we have here. Now, what quantity do we want to buy? Now, we want to order, let's say I want to order 50 of this, or 50 of this, 50 of this as well, and 50 of this. So these are the quantity we want to order. All you need to do is just to type the quantity. Then the rate has already been imputed from the back end there when we are doing the setup for the inventory item. Now, need to multiply this rate to this, and it will give you this. So you can see that the total amount of everything you're going to pay according to the purchase order, according to the current price, or according to your own research, this is it, is 1,960,000, right? So that is what you're going to pay for this item. Now, we have this option up here where we have print purchase order later. You can choose to print the purchase order later and leave it checked, or you can choose to say send mail later. Send this mail later, so that you remind you that you have not sent the mail if you are sending via mail, right? But in this case, I don't want either of them, but it doesn't matter anyway. I will just uncheck this, right? I will just uncheck this, and I'll just click on either save and new or save and close. Now save and close means save and close this entire window, while save and new means save and stay on this window, right? So I'll just do save and close, or save and new I mean. So ignore, like I told you. When you do that, save and new, it will still remain there. Now let's say we want to create another purchase order for another vendor, and in this case the vendor is not in our system. How do we do that? Now it may interest you to also know that you can create a new vendor right from where you are. If you know what you're doing from where you are, you can actually do it, right? I want to add a new vendor. I can go ahead and add a new vendor from here, but let's say I don't want to add a new vendor from here. I can choose to actually come to my vendor section here, go to vendor center. Now when I go to vendor center, these are the two vendors I already have. Now this doesn't have any transaction, this has a purchase order in it. So that's why if I click on it, you can see summary of this transaction with this person, and it's showing negative here because the supply have not been made yet. So these are the transactions with this vendor. Now I want to add a new vendor. All I need to do is just come to my new vendor here. I'll just click new vendor. So when I click new vendor, I will add the name of the vendor I want to add. Let's say this time around I want to add Dangote. I want to add Dangote cement. Am I saying cement? No. Dangote sugar, right? Dangote sugar, right? Sugar limited, right? I don't know whether it is. Yeah, it's a limited. It's not a public limited liability. Okay, it's a public limited liability company. Sorry. Dangote PLC. So I'll go ahead and copy this anyway for training purposes. So I'm just trying to teach you. So all this information, if you have them, you can go ahead and input them. If you don't have them, or you just go ahead and skip any of them. But if you have them, it's important you input them, but it's not important to me. So I'll just go ahead and click OK. So I have added a new vendor. You can see the vendor now appear here, right? You can see the vendor appear here. Now it is not, like I told us earlier on, it is not compulsory. I must not be here before I can add a new vendor from my purchase order where I was, because I want to add a vendor. So I can from here select add new vendor. You can see we have the same form, new vendor. I can just say, okay, let's say this time around I want to add let's say Boa Foods PLC. Boa Foods PLC. Go ahead, copy and paste it here, then that is does it, and I'll click OK. So it will still enter my vendors list. That's what I'm telling you. If you know what you're doing, if you know what you're looking for, you will always find a way to do it wherever you are in QuickBooks. So that is it on how to create a purchase order and how to add a new vendor. You can see I did 3 things at the same time in this section. First of all, we added a couple of inventory items again. Then we created a purchase order, and we now entered or registered a new vendor in the system, right? So that is as simple as that. You have done it. And in the next section, we are going to look at when the vendor finally supply the item. There are a couple of options for us. So when we return back in the next section, we are going to look at how to receive those items from the vendor. So thank you very much, and see you in the next class.